All right, we've come pretty far, haven't we? You've got a sense of how to create posts and moderate your comments and set up your links and create static pages. What's exciting here is really I guess you could say the administration aspects of WordPress are pretty much done. We've gotten through all that good stuff. The items that relate to really running your blog on a regular basis. So now what we can do is we can really turn our focus over to customizing your blog. And really, this is where all of the fun stuff happens. But of course, before you get to customizing things, you've really got to have a sense of how you actually run your blog. So as I say, now that we're through all that stuff, we can focus on customization. Now, one of the first things that you'll want to do to customize your blog is to edit your personal profile and possibly make some changes to your personal profile. What you can do there is you can set which editor gets used by default when you create new posts, either that visual editor or the built-in HTML editor. You can also set a variety of personal information like a personal bio, your website URL, and so on. And this content may appear on your blog depending on the theme that is currently driving your blog. You can also change your password as well. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's take a look at how we can go about customizing and editing your profile. So over on the left-hand side, on that left-hand nav menu, I'm going to go and expand the users area there. And then go ahead and click on your profile. Now what that will do, of course, is that'll bring up your profile settings for your account that you've created for your blog here. Now what we can do here, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. We have personal options. Visual editor. Disable the visual editor when editing or writing new posts. So in other words, if you turn this fella off, then what that means is by default, when we go to create a new post, the HTML editor is going to be used. So this is entirely up to you. If you're comfortable with HTML, if you use it a lot, or if you're pulling a lot of content out of Dreamweaver, for example, and creating new posts out of that content, well, then you can use your HTML editor by default. I'm going to keep mine turned off, though. I'm going to use the visual editor by default. The admin color scheme, we have two options here. We can use the gray color scheme, which is the default, or you can switch over to blue. It's entirely up to you what you decide to use there. And then below that, we have keyboard shortcuts. Enable keyboard shortcuts for comment moderation. You can certainly get into that, especially if you're running a popular blog that has a lot of comments and therefore a lot of comment moderation that needs to happen. And if you want, you can click on this more information link and read up a little bit on your keyboard shortcuts for comment moderation. I'm going to keep mine turned off for now. I'll scroll down just a little bit into the name area. There's our username. Now we can't change our username once it's been set up. And then we have our first name and our last name, and then what's referred to as our nickname inside WordPress. And then below that, display name publicly as, and then we can choose how we want our name to be displayed on our blog. So when we go and reply to comments or when we create new posts and so on. So you can certainly set that up if you like. Below that, we have our contact information. So our email address, for example. You could type in your website URL if you have one. If you're working with instant messaging applications, you can add in your AIM address there, your Yahoo IM, your Google Talk there if you like as well. And then below that, you have your bio information. So if you want, you can talk a little bit about yourself, your background, perhaps some unique expertise that you have. And this content, your bio, may be shown on your blog, again, depending on the theme that's being used. All right, last but not least, we have our password. We can go and change our password. Right now, because this is just for demonstration purposes, my password is simply admin, which is incredibly weak. But what I could do is I could go and type in a stronger password if I want. Maybe something like this. And of course, I'd have to duplicate that again inside the the additional field there, and I'm going to get this strength indicator. And again, if you want strong passwords, make sure to use uppercase and lowercase characters, numbers and symbols, such as the symbols that they're suggesting here. So you can always go and change that password. I would highly recommend that you use very strong passwords for your admin accounts here on WordPress. And of course, once you're finished setting up your profile info, be sure to click on Update Profile. Otherwise, all of the changes that you just made inside this profile screen will be lost. All right, there you go. There's setting up your profile, your custom profile on your WordPress account. Okay, now next up, let's take a look at setting up our blog's general options and also the privacy settings for our WordPress blog. We'll get started here with our general options. What we can do inside our general options is we can set up our blog's title and the blog's tagline as well. We can set our date format and our time format, and there's a handful of other options that we can set here as well. Let's go take a look. I'm going to head down to the left-hand side of the screen here into Settings. Drop down that Settings menu there. And then make sure to click on General. And that'll bring you into this General Settings screen. Okay, let's get started here. So, first of all, we have our blog's title. And mine was just Jeff there. So, give me just one moment because I want to explain exactly where the blog title and the blog tagline shows up inside your live blog. I still happen to have my preview tab open inside my browser. If you don't, you can go ahead and Control or Command click on that Visit Site button there. And the blog title is showing up right here inside the header. And then below that, we have the tagline for the blog. So that's where that info is getting pulled from. So in other words, what I can do inside the back end of my blog is I can come in here and change the blog title. I'll change this to Jeff's Snazzy WordPress Blog. All right, and then the tagline, I'll say blogging about software and web apps. How's that? Okay, great. Now we'll see how this plays out in just a little bit, but you want to keep your tagline pretty short and sweet. You don't want to have it too long there. Okay, let's scroll down and look at a few of the other options here. We have the WordPress URL and the blog address URL. I usually just leave these as the default. These should be your URL, and because I'm running this local host there, that's what I'm getting for mine. You can certainly change that, I suppose, if you want. And then below that, we have the email address that's assigned or associated to your WordPress blog. This is the address that's going to be used for admin purposes like new user notification, your comments, and so on. And then below that, we have membership. Anyone can register. We can certainly set that. And then we can also set the new user default role. Remember, we talked about this not too long ago when we were setting up those new accounts. So we have subscriber, administrator, editor, author, and contributor. So by default, anyone who creates a new account on my WordPress blog would be created as a subscriber. Okay, now next up what we can do is we can set up our time zone for our blog right here. And this always causes a little bit of confusion here. WordPress uses Universal Time, or UTC. And time zones around the world are expressed as either positive or negative offsets from the UTC. So it's always going to be some kind of a UTC value. So, for example, if you're on the West Coast, you would be on Pacific time. This, of course, is in North America. So your UTC value would be UTC minus 8, right? Now, I'm on Eastern time. I'm on Toronto and New York time. So I'm actually UTC minus 5. So I would go and find that out of the list here. Now, if you're not sure what your UTC code would be, a quick Google search will tell you. So anyway, hopefully all good there. All right, below that, we have our date format. So we can express that as the actual month spelled out there, February 24th, 2010, or we can get into the year, month, and then day, or month, day, year, and so on and so on. You can even come in here and customize a date using custom PHP values if you wish. But I always leave the default there. It's sort of the full date. That's just kind of the way I like to do it. But in any regard, below that, we have the time format as well. You can certainly set that up as you wish, again, using some custom values. And then our week starts on which day of the week. I usually just leave the default there, Monday. Now, once again, don't forget, click on Save Changes to lock in your custom settings here inside the General Settings screen. Hopefully all good. A few other quick settings that I want to show you now related to your privacy options. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit here, and underneath Settings, we have Privacy. Go ahead and turn on your privacy screen there. Go ahead and head into that screen there. Blog visibility. By default, I want my blog to be visible to everyone, including search engines like Google and Bing and Technorati and archivers. Or I want my blog to block search engines but allow normal visitors. So that's entirely up to you. Perhaps for whatever reason you want to block those search engines so you're not getting traffic from the search engines, but I usually leave the default here. I want my blog to be visible to the entire public, meaning all users and all archivers and all search engines. All right, make sure you save your changes there. Let's go and set up our blog's reading settings next. So once again, over on the left-hand side, pop open your settings menu, and we'll just scroll down a little bit and look for reading underneath your settings menu there. That'll bring you into your reading settings screen. Now we have a bunch of options that we can set here. First off, and again, this really ties into blog customization, what do we want to display on the front page of your blog? In other words, when someone heads to jeff-blake.com or whatever the blog URL is going to be, what do they see? Well, by default, they're going to see that blog loop, right? All of the posts that are inside our blog, that chronological list of posts, right? But what we can do instead is we can specify a static page to display whenever someone goes to our blog instead. So I'll turn on static page here, and then the front page. So when someone goes to jeff-blake.com, for example, I want them to see the About page. Or this isn't really a good example, but the Contact Us page. Now, in the real world, what we do is we'd go and create a custom static page and probably call it Home Page or Front Page or something like this, and then come into our reading settings here and choose it out of our list of static pages. So these are all the static pages that you and I have created along the way here. So that's the front page for the blog, but we also have the post page, what we want to display when someone goes and looks at our posts. So you have the two options there. Now what I'm going to do though is I'm going to go back to the default here, the posts. I want people to see that chronological loop that I've established here for my blog. I'll scroll down just a little bit. The blog pages show at most X number of posts. Now, what does that mean? Well, again, I still have the live tab for my blog open inside my browser, so I'm going to head over there just for a second. And the value that I'm referring to determines how many posts will be displayed inside the blog at any given time. So let's see here. What do we have here? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 posts there, right? Well, what I can do here is I'll head back to this tab, and I'll go and change this. We have 6 posts inside our blog right now. I'm going to go and change this value to 4, for instance, and I'll go and click on Save Changes. Let's head back to our live tab here, and I'll refresh Command-R or Control-R there on the Windows side. By the way, there's our new title and the new tagline that you and I had added in not too long ago. Now let's count up our posts. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I continue scrolling down, what happens is we now get these links here, older entries. And if I click on that, what will happen is I'm now taken to older entries. There's the welcome to my new blog and that hello world post. And when I scroll down to the bottom of that page, I now have newer entries. So that's really what's happening here. We're controlling the number of posts that are visible at any given time now on our blog, which is extremely cool. So I just picked 4 sort of out of thin air. You can choose whatever value you want. And of course, if I head back to my back end here, this is all inside the reading settings here, and it's all about this value right here. So again, you can set that to whatever you like. I'll go back to the default of 10 posts here. Syndication feeds, or your RSS feeds, posts and post excerpts. So for each article in a feed, in an RSS feed, show that post's full text or just this summary, just the excerpt of that post. I think we talked about that a while back. And then finally, we have some encoding for our pages and our feeds. I leave the default. And of course, don't forget to click on Save Changes there down at the bottom. Throughout our time here together, we've run into permalinks a few times, and you know already that WordPress creates your permalinks for your posts by default. So a permalink, as you know, is the link to your post. It's the permanent link to your post, hence the name permalink. But what I want to show you here is how you can get in and start customizing your permalinks. And there's lots of cool stuff that we can do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll down here a little bit, pop open the settings menu there on the left-hand side, and then I'm going to go ahead and choose permalinks. Okay. Now, here's our default permalink structure, and you and I have already talked about this. Remember, we took a look at this earlier. It was $P equals and then a number, right? The P stands for post, and the number that we see after the equals sign is the post's ID number. That's how it works. Now, again, that's the default. That's the default way that our WordPress blog is set up. But we can always come into this permalink settings screen and change how permalinks are handled by our WordPress blog. For example, rather than going with the default permalink, what I can do is I can switch it to day and name. So, for example, we'd now get the year followed by a /, then the month followed by a /, and then the day, and then the name of the post there with hyphens instead of spaces there. That would be our post title there. So that's one option. Then what we have is the month and name if we want. So in that situation, what we'd get is the full URL, jeff-blake.com, or again, I'm on this local host here, /year, /month, /post title, using hyphens there where spaces occur inside our post title, right? Or what we could do is we could go with a numeric permalink style. So what would happen there is we'd get our full URL, /archives, and then a number. So that post ID number, right? So that's another option. So as you can see here, lots of different options here. Default, the day and name, the month and name, numeric, and you may have eyeballed this, the custom structure. You can actually hand code in a custom permalink structure as well. And I'd love to take a few minutes and talk to you about exactly how to do this because there's so many different options here. So let's talk about that next. Let's talk for a moment about setting up custom permalinks inside your WordPress blog. And I thought probably the easiest way to show you this would be in a plain text file here. And by the way, this file, permalinks.txt, I threw into your project files folder, so you have this if you want to take a quick look at it along with me here. So what we can do here is we can set up our own custom permalinks, as you know, in the admin console of the WordPress blog that we're working on. And there's a number of different ways that we can structure our permalinks. Now, let me rhyme through some of the different methods that we have here. First of all, notice that all of our methods are preceded by a %, and they finish with a % as well. So just bear that in mind. So what I can do here is I can specify the year of the post. That's a 4-digit year, by the way. I could specify the month number, the 2-digit month number, so 02 for February, 01 for March, and so on. And then we have a day option. That would give us a 2-digit day value. And then we also have an hour value. If you want to get that precise, you can specify the hour that the post was added to your blog. That's a 2-digit hour, by the way, so it's going to use a 24-hour clock. So, for example, we would get 15 if we created our post at 3 p.m., for example. You can even get down to minute and all the way down to second if you really want to get precise. 2-digit values for those fellas as well. Next up, we also have the post name, which would be the title of your blog post, and your spaces are replaced by hyphens, which is very good, by the way, for search engine optimization. You have your post ID, the post ID number, the category, that your post sits inside, and then last but not least here, the author of the post. Now, I hope all this makes sense. What we can do is you can key these into the WordPress admin console if you want, into that custom permalink field there. Or what you can do is you can go even further with this and you can structure your own custom permalink. In other words, you can chain several of these items here that we've talked about together to create a full custom permalink. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. And this is what I have. I have /%year %, /% month num %, /% day %, /% category %, /% post name %. Did you get all that? Okay, now here's the trick. If you want to chain a bunch of these together, you have to make sure that you have // before, after, and in between all of these tags. Now, the example that I'm giving you here, this whole great big long hunk of code here, would finally give us this result. So this would be the new permalink structure for our blog. We'd have our domain.com, and then we'd have year, because we have %year there. And then we have the month number. I just put in January there. There's our month num, followed by the day, the 2-digit day, which would be the 1st of January in my example. The category name that the post has been categorized underneath. And then finally the actual post title as indicated by post name. All right, I hope all that makes sense. So you can go nuts with this. You can really do some neat customization here and really do some fun things. Here's what I'm going to do though. I'm going to head back to Firefox, back into my admin console, because I definitely do want to set up a custom structure. And here's the structure that I'm going to set up. It's super simple, super easy. All I want for my permalinks is simply the post name. So in other words, the title of my blog post separated by hyphens, right? So to do that, I'm going to type in /%, and then I'll type in post name. You can see mine's already coming up there by default. And then % again, and then / one more time. There we go. Okay, so this is what I'm after here. I'm going to scroll down, make sure to click on Save Changes. And let's see if this has worked for us. I still have my preview tab open inside my browser. I hope you do as well. I don't think we have to refresh, but it's never a bad idea. I'm just going to hit Command R here, or Control R on the Windows side. And I'll click on Working with Color in Flash. And then let's take a look at our URL up at the top of our browser. There it is, working with color in Flash. There it is, creating custom permalink URLs. All right, are you ready for it? Let's start talking about themes here in WordPress and applying different themes to your blog. So by default, if you're still working on the same theme that I've been working on here, this is our default Kubrick theme, of course with the blue header across the top and the sidebar running down the right-hand side with all of our items inside there, and of course our main blog loop happening there in the main part of our interface there. And if I scroll all the way down to the bottom here, we also have the footer here. Jeff's Snazzy WordPress blog is proudly powered by WordPress. And of course we have the rounded corners happening here and the drop shadows and all that good stuff, right? So I want to talk about applying new themes to our blog. And this is really interesting stuff because the term theme, design, and template really are all synonymous. A lot of times people will refer to your blog's design. Well, really that ties into the theme. And again, the theme is really being driven by something called PHP and something else called CSS, or cascading style sheets. So let's take a look at how to apply a new theme to your WordPress blog. So I'm going to keep my preview tab open inside my browser. I'll flip over to the admin console, that admin backend for my blog. And what I'll do here is I'll head down to Appearance over on the left-hand side, and I'll click on Themes. Okay, now inside this Manage Themes screen, there's our current theme at the very top, the WordPress Default 1.6. And the default WordPress theme is based on the famous Kubrick theme. And all of the theme's files are located in So it's going to be your web URL, jeff-blake.com or whatever the case may be, and then wp-content, and then /themes/default. That's the path to the themes files, right? And down at the bottom there, they also have some tags: blue, custom header, fixed width, 2 columns, widgets, and so on. Okay, now at this point, you and I only have one other theme available to us. When you want to go and use themes and apply themes to your blogs, you have to install them. And we'll talk about installing themes in just a little while here. But I'm going to scroll down here and take a look at my available themes, which of course is below the current theme there. And the only other available theme that you and I have is WordPress Classic 1.5, this fella here. The original WordPress theme that graced versions 1.2 and prior. This theme's files are located in, and then there's your path once again. And then below that, we also have some tags. So mantle color, variable width, 2 columns, widgets. Okay, so let's take a look at this WordPress Classic 1.5. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to single click on them there. And what we get here is a preview window that appears on top of our admin console. And it gives us a preview of what our blog would look like if we went ahead and actually applied this blog theme to our current WordPress blog. So, for example, I can see my title running across the top there. I can see my posts happening inside the sort of the main area here on the left. There's the date. There's my title for my blog post. But check this out, the file under, and then there's all my keywords and my tags, right? So some of that metadata is shuffled around a little bit. It was created by Jeff at 9:20 p.m. and so on. And then there's the main content for the post. And then below that, we have our comments, 2 comments on this guy. And then, of course, we have the same sort of setup for the other guys there. Look at that more tag, though. So again, a lot of the look and feel of our blog is really being determined by the theme that's controlling the blog. Of course, running down the right-hand side, we have our sidebar. There's our pages, our blog roll, friends and links, that list of links that you and I created, and then our categories, and then search, and then we have some other stuff here too, archives and meta. All right, so let's actually go and apply this theme to our blog. So what I'm going to do is up in the top right corner, go ahead and click on Activate WordPress Classic. That's really all there is to it, to apply a new theme to your blog. New theme activated. This theme supports widgets. Please visit the widget settings page to configure them. We'll talk about widgets in a little while if we have enough time, but now the current theme is the WordPress Classic 1.5. Okay, great. We are looking awesome here. Notice that if I scroll all the way down to the bottom of the screen, there's no Save Changes button or anything like that, so we're pretty much ready to roll here. So what I'm going to do now is I want to go and preview my live blog. So head back to your Preview tab. Notice we still have the old theme applied here because we haven't refreshed yet. So go ahead and hit Command R or Control R on the Windows side there. And there's our new theme being applied to our blog. So there we go. The process of actually applying a new theme to your blog is very straightforward. You'll notice some things that might require some fix-ups, like the title of my blog I should really go and fix up, and possibly a few other things, right? Maybe I don't want to have that nested category action happening there, and so on. So there you go. Pretty straightforward. Now, the important thing to remember here, and this is always the tricky thing to kind of wrap the old noodle around, is we haven't changed the content of your blog. All of your posts are still intact. The titles of your posts, all of your comments, static pages that you've created, lists of links, everything is still there. But what's changed now is the presentation of all of that content. Now, of course, you're certainly not limited to the 2 themes that we have available to us here in WordPress. As a matter of fact, there's a huge array of themes that we have available. Most themes are free for us to use, but other themes are commercial themes. In fact, there are professional theme designers out there, and there's a huge community online that's all sort of centered around WordPress themes and customizing themes and all the rest of it. So let's see if we can find some additional themes to use here in our blog. So what I'll do is I'll head down to Appearance there over on the left-hand side, and I'm going to go into Add New Themes. Okay, great. Now, if I know the name of the theme that I'm after, I could certainly do a search for it here, and that would, of course, search for all of the available themes based on my search criteria. Or what I can do is I can use the feature filter if I want. And of course, what I can do here is I can search based on color or based on the number of columns, the way the width is handled, either fixed width or flexible width, and so on. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to search for black, and I'm going to search for 2 columns, and I'm going to search for fixed width. And let's see what comes up here. I'll just scroll down and choose Find Themes there. See the results that we get back, the search results that come back here. I'll just scroll over to the right here so we can see what we have. And scroll down here, look at all the results we have here. So what's cool here is you can scroll through all the different results here. Maybe it's this burning bush kind of catches my eye, perhaps. Enjoy my first public WordPress theme, burning bush. And I go, you know, that looks pretty cool. What I can do is I can click on preview. And when I click on preview, I get this pop-up window appearing, which gives me a sort of a preview of this actual theme and how it would look with a little bit of content in it. Now, unfortunately, I have kind of a small screen happening here, but hopefully you get something a little bit larger on your screen. That's kind of cool. I think that's a pretty cool looking theme, but I think I'm going to continue looking for some other themes. So I'm going to go and close out of this window here just by clicking on the X in the top right corner. And let's see what else we have here. I'll scroll down a little bit more. Brain Power looks kind of cool. Tray Simple looks kind of cool as well. Let's see what else we have. Black Globe, or maybe Domaining Theme. Let me click on Preview for that one. So you can kind of, it's almost like you're shopping for your theme here. You just kind of window shop around until you find something that you like here. That's pretty cool. I like the colors that are used there. But you know what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll back towards the top. And I think what I'll wind up using is this guy here, this black letterhead. So I'll click on preview here and have a closer look at this guy. Again, I'm loving the colors here, really kind of striking there with the black background. You can check this guy out here if you want. Let's close out of that. And this guy says here, black letterhead is a 2-column minimalistic theme with a black background. Well, that's pretty cool. So what I'll do is I actually want to use this theme and I want to apply them to my blog. So I'm going to go ahead and click on install. So in other words, what has to happen here is the theme has to get downloaded and installed into my WordPress blog, right? Now, inside this install screen that appears here, go ahead and click on Install Now down towards the bottom right corner. Okay, now we're inside this installing themes screen. It kind of gives us a play-by-play of what's happening. Unpacking the package, installing, successfully installed. Now, what I can do is I can preview it, or I can activate it, or I can return to my theme installer. I'm going to go ahead and activate this guy. Go ahead and click on Activate. And we'll just wait for WordPress here. Now it's taken us into our Manage Themes screen here. We're inside our Themes submenu item there. So now our current theme is the black letterhead 1.5. If I scroll down, I still have the 2 other default themes, the WordPress Classic and the WordPress Default, still available there underneath the Available Themes heading there. But let's go and check out our live blog. I still have my preview tab open here at the top. And let's go ahead and refresh. Command R or Control R. Check that out. So again, the content has not been changed in any way. Creating shapes in Flash, there's my post. Here's a post using the HTML editor. All of my posts, all of the comments, the pages that we've created, the links that we've created, everything is still intact, but it's the presentation of our content that's changed. So very cool stuff. So I suppose I will see you in about a half hour or 45 minutes because I'm sure you're going to want to play around exploring through a lot of the different themes. But of course, there's one other thing that I want to show you related to WordPress themes, and that is the WordPress theme directory. If you enjoyed the previous exercise on exploring those themes, then you're going to love this exercise as well. There's a free themes directory available on the WordPress.org website. So pop open another browser tab and then head over to WordPress.org/extend/themes, and you should wind up here. And it says here, looking for some awesome WordPress themes, here's the place to find them. Welcome to the free WordPress themes directory. So let's see here. We have 1,136 themes, and well over 12 million downloads and counting. So there's a huge array of themes. Again, this is part of this online community for our WordPress themes, right? So let me kind of walk you through this screen here. In the center area of the page, we have our featured themes, and these are always changing. So if you want to, you can always change up your blog theme to kind of keep it fresh and keep it interesting. And you could come here, I suppose, if you want, to see what themes are being featured every once in a while. So here's one called Mystique, feature-packed theme with solid design, built-in widgets, and intuitive theme setting interface, designed by Digital Nature. There's another one, Comment Central, high-quality WordPress theme, colorful, grunge, and stylish theme, 2 columns, left sidebar drop-down menu, and widget ready. So you can kind of tour through this screen here if you like, and again, there's all kinds of people online customizing and building their own themes, and then of course sharing them online as well. There's a neat one, Piano Black. Now let's go and take a look at Piano Black. I'm going to go ahead and click on that guy. And I'm brought into this screen here. Let me just scroll over to the right a little bit. Piano Black. This theme supports widget, thread comments, theme options, and translation is ready. Also including page navigation and multi-level drop-down menu. You can see a live demo, oh that's cool, over at this URL. So you can go and check it out live if you want before you actually install it, which is pretty cool. There's some tags for this particular theme. And then if I scroll over even further to the right, we can download it, we can preview it, and then usually there's some additional information, versions and updates and things like this. And then we have an average rating over on the side as well. So pretty cool. Let's try and get a preview of this guy. I'm going to go ahead and click on preview. We get that same pop-up window that you and I just saw a moment ago back inside the admin console of our blog. And there's an idea of what this particular theme would look like with some content in there. Very, very cool. I like that a lot. So you can definitely check this guy out if you want. Okay, I'm going to close out of this pop-up window here, and I'm just going to back out one page here. So we're all the way back out to the main themes directory here on WordPress.org. And you know, again, if I scroll over to the right-hand side, and if I scroll down, well, it's not showing up on my screen here, but usually they'll have sort of an extra menu here. You might see this on your side. I was expecting to see it here, where they would have most popular themes and newest themes and recently updated themes and so on. Usually that's on the right, but anyway, it's not showing up for me here. Anyway, there you go. Pretty cool stuff. Now, there is a theme here that I want to use for my blog, and that theme is Comment Central. But here's the trick. Running this off of WordPress.org, I'd have to download the theme and then move the theme files into my WordPress directory. And if my WordPress site is live right now, I'd actually have to upload those files to my WordPress site. And then I'd have to activate the theme from the admin backend. So it's a little bit involved, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a slightly faster way to work here. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to head back to my dashboard, my admin console there, over in my first tab. I'll head down to Appearance on the left-hand side, and then into Add New Themes. Okay, and then in this search field that we have here, let's go and search for the theme that I had just eyeballed here on WordPress.org, Comment Central. So that's what I'll type into this search field here. Comment Central. Okay, let's see our results here. Interestingly, Comment Central is not the first search result. Let me just scroll over here a little bit, and we have all kinds of stuff in here. P2 and Smells Like Facebook and a bunch of others in here. If I keep scrolling down, though, there he is, right there, Comment Central. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is, well, I could do the preview. Let's do a quick preview. I'll go ahead and click on that preview there, and this is what we're after. This is the look that we want to go for with our blog that we're working on here. So what's interesting about this one is not only is there a lot of graphical elements happening here, obviously, as you can see, but the main blog content sits over on the right side of the page, and the sidebar sits over on the left side of the page, which is kind of cool. Okay, let's set this guy up. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Install. And then, of course, down in the bottom right, Install Now. And what's cool about installing your themes this way, rather than downloading them off of WordPress.org, is WordPress does all the heavy lifting. So I don't have to worry about, moving files around, and maybe I forget to upload certain files and things like this. It's all kind of ready to go here. All right, let's go and activate this guy. Go ahead and click on Activate. Okay, now our current theme is now this Comment Central theme. I'm going to head back to my Preview tab up at the top of my browser there. Refresh, Command-R or Control-R, and there we go. There's our new blog theme. Once again, all the same content, all the content's intact, but the presentation of that content, I'm sure you'd agree, it's getting pretty wild.